the way ahead for Sony-Zee merger is now clear.
I think one more hurdle definitely crossed. The SAT ruling which has quashed the SEBI order which had barred both Punit Goenka and his father Subhash Chandra, the founder of Zee Entertainment, both of them being promoters at Zee Entertainment Enterprises Limited. Now one more hurdle crossed, where SEBI had originally barred them from holding management positions in any listed company. Now, this was coming at a time when Sony and Zee were in talks and had pretty much come to the close of their deal on a merged entity, where Sony and Zee would together run a singular platform where Zee would continue to hold the management positions of managing director, Punit Goenka specifically, to be managing director for 5 years. Now, this hurdle has also been cleared. Now, the question really is SEBI going to contest this order, challenge this SAT ruling in the Supreme Court or not?
All right, let's understand the implication of the SAT order. Shriram Subramaniam of Ingovern joining us at this point on the broadcast. Shriram, thank you very much for taking time out. Good to have you back. Tell us, what is the way ahead from here on? It appears that one more hurdle, one more roadblock is cleared for the merger. What is the SAT ruling states, and what is the likely future of the deal?
Firstly, the SEBI ruling basically allows Punit Goenka to hold positions, and but tells SEBI to continue its investigation, and SEBI also reserves that it can take actions in future based on the SEBI investigation. Two is, it comes down that SEBI should do investigations in a very time-bound manner. Three is, obviously now SEBI has the right to go and appeal to Supreme Court, and I would think they would do that, take it to Supreme Court. But at the end of the day, I'm saying that these two things should be dealing. The merger and Punit Goenka's being on as a MD should be dealing, because at the end of the day, Punit Goenka will own only 4% of the merged entity. So 96% shareholders are suffering. Two is, the country would have got $1.5 billion of inflow from Sony as fresh infusion into the merged entity, and it would have created a listed MNC media company. So all this has been waiting, and it sends a wrong signal that it has taken 2 years to fructify a merger. So all these, I think, are roadblocks for the merger itself, and Zee's minority shareholders have suffered unnecessarily for 2 years.
Hi Shriram, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Kartik this side. I just want to, run your thoughts on the issue with respect to the sort of vote of confidence now that perhaps Sony Pictures has in this deal going forward. Remember, about 6 months ago or so in June, when SEBI had in fact come out with this order against Punit Goenka, there were news reports on Sony getting jittery about the deal altogether. Now, with SAT quashing SEBI's order, do you think there is a little more faith reposed within Sony to go ahead and close this merger at the earliest now, with or without Punit Goenka as managing director, with or without SEBI contesting this SAT ruling in the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I think even 6 months ago, there was no issue of Sony having any jitters, I would think. Because at the end of the day, Sony India itself is feeling the heat. There is tough competition. Even Disney Plus Hotstar is supposed to be exiting. So Jio has come out really strongly in that sense in the media space. So all these are affecting the media industry itself. Now we have gone into a sort of a oligopoly situation with Jio and Zee. Sony needed to be merged to create that sort of a momentum and to keep their competitive, I would say, stature in the place. So I would think Sony, if anything, would be more than happy if they are only worried about the timeline it is taking to fructify, for this merger to fructify.
Right. Now, I think the latest that came from Sony was that mid-November is when we are likely to see that merger going through. Mid-November, this statement came a few months back. Mid-November is just about 15 days or so from now. Do you think it can move at that pace, or are we still looking at a further delay in this merger?
No, I'm not sure exactly what is the time frame, but even if it happens by end of this calendar year, that is by December end, I think that would be good for the shareholders so that they can look at it from a new perspective this coming year. Because the final thing is the NCLT approval, which has already been got,
That's right.
but again, there is usually the second approval by NCLT. So if that comes through, I think it would be done and
Okay,
dusted.
and if the merger, sorry, Shweta, if the merger does go through by end of this calendar year, like you said, Shriram, and thereafter, if the Supreme Court, if SEBI were to go to Supreme Court, and if the Supreme Court were to now quash SAT's ruling and rule in favor of SEBI, then what happens? Would Punit Goenka, should Punit Goenka be open to relinquishing the management position at the combined entity?
And does it also mean that there is a very limited window of opportunity that Zee has right now before SEBI goes to Supreme Court to challenge the SAT order to finalize the deal?
No, in fact, I would think that see, Punit Goenka has publicly also stated that he would like to see the deal happen irrespective of his being on AMD or not. And I would think that would be a fair result. At the end of the day, the merger cannot be held because Punit Goenka should be MD or not AMD. So irrespective of whether he's MD or not AMD, the merger should go through. That would be the fair outcome.
All right, Shriram, thank you very much for joining us on that very, very crucial story. But Kartik, come to think of it, Zee would not want the merger to go through if Punit Goenka is not MD.
No,
would
so
they?
I think Zee had come out with a statement clarifying its position that it wants to go ahead with the merger irrespective. But I think that, like you mentioned, the window of opportunity is ripe right now. That window is wide open for the merger to go through quickly before SEBI goes to the Supreme Court, if it also SEBI decides to do that.
All right. So, and whether SEBI decides to do that or not will be clear in a couple of days' time.
Right.